Well, hello and welcome. Now, the security agencies being a judge in their own case. And this is one of the things where you and I have to get involved, because today it may be somebody, but tomorrow it may be us. Now, all too often, what they call esprit de corps, where when either the police service or the army get into any fracas, they sit down within themselves and they judge their own case. But then you ask yourself that, is that the justice that you wanted? Would you have wanted to hold them into a mainstream court? And why is this tradition where the soldiers or the police people seem to serve as well? Now you look at the case which happened in Kasuwa, I think about a year ago. Military men move in for one reason or the other, there's gunshots, somebody loses their life. The family want justice. The army says, we have delivered justice and it's okay. Should it end there or should we deliberate? I think we deliberate. My name is Nana Sakwa. This is PM Express, and when I come back, I'm talking to the victim's brother. And we just want to find out, should the security agencies be a judge in their own matter? Don't move. Well, let me say thank you very much to Malik Dabu for holding the fort for a week. Indeed, I was in Karachi of all places. And whoa, what a world. Beautiful place. And I want to say a big thank you to the Karachi Ura, Nana Mpra Pesemuna, who hosted us absolutely divinely and showed us a different culture, different side of Ghana that I'd never ever known. Greetings from Wadene Hokwa Fakuto III to you, Nana Mpra Pesemuna, and indeed Ochiami Wusu, who's Ochiami for the Nana himself. It was a beautiful vacation and I look forward to going back. But right here, we just want to find out, should security agencies be a judge in their own matter? Let's watch this clip just to set the conversation rolling.
I find myself now is where all the action happened. The clash between some of the residents in this community and the military persons who had come around to supervise the demolition of some of the houses. The demolished structure that you see here and a number of others in the community did not happen easily. It actually cost the life of one resident and 3 others were left injured as a result of this particular incident. Well, the residents here are not happy that the military persons are insisting that their men who supervised the demolition exercise did absolutely nothing wrong when they shot at some of the residents.
My name is Dr. Rufai Ahmed. I'm the chairman of Gomwenyano Development Association, a committee that is supposed to work for the residents and the military. Should have been a composition of the military and also the residents and maybe the police, so that there will be a very fair distance, so that everybody's view will be captured. But unfortunately, we were not contacted. The residents were not contacted. The family of the deceased were not contacted.
Chaotic scenes there from the incident on the 3rd of September last year. 2 people were shot in the leg, and one, Michael Asaredako, aged 30, was hit in the head. He died later at the Kwalibu Teaching Hospital. A copy of the autopsy report signed by Dr. L. Edusei, which Joy News has intercepted, gave 2 reasons for the death: high-velocity gunshot injury and fractured skull with cerebral convulsion. Military police sources say the soldiers returned from the operation having spent 10 bullets. They told investigators they were in the area to maintain order, but the crowd attacked them with sticks and stones. They responded with fire because they were, quote, frightened. They feared they would have been lynched if they had not acted. Head of Public Affairs at the Ghana Armed Forces, Colonel Eric Agrikwashi, tells Joy News the residents were incited against the soldiers.
Do you know that particular incident? Joy FM wanted to lay ambush for us. Joy FM knew that the soldiers were going there. And so why would Joy FM go and lay ambush for military people?
We actually got the hints, and then we rushed to the scene. Not that we laid
You were there even before. Yes. So you see, we also do our own investigations, and we found out that you went to lay ambush for us. So you even were preempting that these soldiers will come and misbehave. So even when they go there, somebody could even instigate them, because they were trying so against them. But that one, nobody reported that.
So the investigations have shown that they were really not responsible for any bad acts. Actually.
No, the people went there to perform a duty, and there were exchanges.
And the personnel who are responsible are still within the service. No action has been taken against them.
No, if I send somebody to go and perform a duty and something goes wrong, what sort of action do I have to? I can't dismiss them from the service because if they have not asked them to go and perform the duty, that incident would have happened. So you can't dismiss them from the armed forces. But you look at it, if there were excesses, yes, then you punish them accordingly. But the type of punishment the media is expecting, it might not be the type of punishment that will be.
Has any punishment been meted out at all from what?
That one is within our circus, and so we know how to deal with our people when they do things outside their the tax that is given them.
The residents deny attacking the soldiers. Zongo chief of the area, Saki Tairu Abdallah, was on the ground that day.
Old women, children, the community as a whole were there. And you said people attacked you. Who attacked who? If really the military knows that they are coming to visit their land or site, why were they with arms? 2 or 3 men with arms. What intention do they have? What negative mind do they have against the community? So they came in arms. They came fully armed with ammo cars. They shot somebody's son down because of a property, fighting for his right. In Ghana, they say democracy, democracy. What is the democracy?
Joy News understands the homicide unit of the Ghana Police Service is also conducting a parallel criminal investigation into the incident, details of which are unavailable.
Hello, and well, thank you very much for watching that. But with me in the studio is Samuel Darko, who's a brother of the victim shot by the military. Samuel Asari Darko was the unfortunate one to be hit by a bullet, and he never made it. And you look at the autopsy report, it says that fractured skull, concussion, and a high velocity bullet. But from the military, you know, death can happen at any time. You can even fall. But let's speak to Samuel, find out what the situation is and what they have gotten from. Samuel, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
September 4th last year. That's when it happened, 2015. September 4th, 2015. From that day till now, has the military contacted you?
Never. We rather went there because we wanted to know the progress of the investigations. And they never were willing to speak up. So they told us they are still investigating, and then when they are done, we will know about it. But even after they finished, left for Joy News, I wouldn't have even known they finished. So they never contacted us.
Did you contact them personally, or like through a lawyer, or?
We went through a lawyer.
Through a lawyer.
And they said they had not gotten anywhere. Even before that, we went to the CID headquarters, and they told us they are doing 2 investigations, one on their own and one in collaboration with the military police. So, but even from there, they had their own conclusion that they are not liable. So that made the lawyer angry, and we went there. And when we went, they were like, they were not going to speak up because they are not done.
Now, what was your brother doing there in the crowd or at the demolition site?
My brother has 2 plots of land over there.
Okay.
So as it will happen to anybody, you know there is going to be something like that. There's a demolition, and you're just going to see if at least it will pass by your place. So that is how come he got there, and then he met his untimely death.
Did he throw stones or did he attack?
Okay, from that I can speak the very words of the ESP, the then ESP, because I learned right after the case he was transferred. He said that my brother was not even close to the military or the soldiers, but he was actually at a distance, and the bullet actually came to him. And one CID at the place, who was in charge of the case even before it went to the headquarters, said there were no stones scattered around, there were no sticks around. So they don't know why people are saying, or why the soldiers are saying they were throwing stones at them. So he actually didn't throw any stone. And when he was down on the floor in the pool of blood, they searched him and to see if they could find anything. And the CID said they didn't find any weapon on him. So which means he wasn't there to even attack anybody.
I find it, but as a citizen, are you not allowed to like hold the military through like a court? Like, you know, if I hit you, you can get the police to come and get me and take me through court. It doesn't work like that.
For that one, I don't really know how they are doing their own thing, because I don't really understand the whole process. How can you go and do something, then you end up investigating your own body? It means you are going to be biased, because I think 3 days after the whole incident, that is on the 7th of September 2015, one major retired Derrick Drew came out with some funny stories saying the soldiers doubt if it was a bullet that actually killed my brother, that maybe it was a stone, somebody threw a stone from somewhere and it hit him and he died. Even before autopsy had been done, he had concluded this matter. And after that, he said the soldiers are doing an investigation into the whole thing, and so the investigation is to either accept or deny it. And if it's a gunshot, they will actually go for it. Now they have come out saying that it was actually a gunshot, but with another reason. They were defending themselves. So to them, they have concluded their matter. And I don't think this is right.
I was just going to ask that you know, will the family rest knowing that, well, they've looked into it and that we have justice?
To me, justice, and I believe this is what the family is also saying, justice has not been served anywhere. Because how can people go about just kill somebody and then behave as if nothing happened?
I mean, Samuel, I mean, there were 23 soldiers, all armed. I mean, will they just fire sporadically, nothing, peace and calm, and all of a sudden they fire? I mean, could something have triggered it? I'm not just trying to justify it. I'm just trying to find out if something had triggered them, you know, fire, you know, into the crowd.
Okay. Let me start from what the press release the military brought out. They said they were sent on an Operation Calm Life Duty. I don't know which kind of operation it is. And then they found some residents or a large crowd having some issues with an estate developer. So they went around to calm the crowd. And this crowd, I don't know if they hated them before they even got there, rather turned against them and not the estate developer. That's what they are trying to say. And they trying to calm them down, gave warning shots in the air. And it led to the death of my brother. So I don't know if...
So it's not that the army had interest in the land, but they'd come to protect the estate developer from the crowd.
For that one, I think they have to explain it better from their press release. Because how can you say you were on another duty and then you heard there was an agitation between the residents of the land and then the estate developer? So you went there to calm them down, and now you ended up killing. But I believe when you listen from the residents of the place, the eyewitnesses, they actually say that the soldiers came leading the demolition. So they actually drew lines for nobody to cross it. And you know, people have told to buy their lands and to build. So nobody would stand there for somebody to just come and demolish their lands or demolish their buildings like that. So by all means, they would try and defend themselves.
0560 800 000, 0560 800 000. Maybe you've gone through a similar circumstance and the police or the army have investigated themselves and you're not happy. Or you could be the other one who they investigated and you are absolutely happy with what the outcome was. Let's hear your story. As I said, this is one of the things which could happen to you, me, anybody. And 0560 800 000. So is that the end of the matter, or there's something else for you to do?
For now, at least we chased after the military for their investigation. We are still waiting for the police, the CID headquarters, for what they will say. But I believe this thing has to be taken on because those people have to be brought to book. They have to face the law. I believe they have to come from under the wings of the military and face the law. Otherwise, justice will not be served in any way.
Well, if you listen to what the police PRO is saying, the army PRO is saying, now listen, we send them, so we bear the consequences. It may be a few excesses, but after all, they went there legally, not illegally.
Yeah, I listened to that. And I don't know why this man is going to say that. I listened to it in the afternoon at 12, and I actually recorded it, and I played it over and over and over. And I was asking myself, is this man a father? Does he have children? So what would have happened if one of his children was actually killed by a means like this? Would he just sit down and say, oh, they were on illegal duty, so let bygones be bygones? And the correspondent at Joy FM asked him that, oh, so this thing led to a death. And he actually chuckled and said, oh, death, that is rather unfortunate. For death, we can't all run away from it. So we are not going, we don't know how each person is going to die. I was actually thinking, so in this country, all Ghanaians should know that as you are walking about, going about your life duties, everything, you can just be shot by anybody and then they'll go scot-free. If you are shot by the military, forget it. Is that what they are trying to tell us? That you were sent on a legal duty. So they killing somebody is also legal. They have to answer all these questions.
I mean, at the military level, what sort of influence or what sort of powers do you have to pull to be able to, go in there? You must know people in high places or big lawyers or something. I mean, how do you penetrate to get these boys out and say, look, you are going to face the book?
I believe maybe some people with their family relations or having one or two people they pushed in can get one or two military personnel to run some errands for them. But to the extent of getting 23, actually those were the people who were apprehended. I don't know if there were more and some ran away, I don't know. But let's deal with these 23. How can you get 23 people? And when I was speaking with the CID, he said that when the military had done everything and they were going away, the then ASP of Millennium City actually went and blocked them with his own car and told them to come to the police station and report. Because they can't come and do something like this at a place under their jurisdiction and without them knowing anything about it. Because what actually made them know was when one chief took my brother and one other injured person to the police station to tell them that this is what is happening beneath your nose. So you have to actually, before they actually went there. And from the many stories I've heard, it was the estate developer who actually contacted one a military person. Mm-hmm. Then that person released those 23 people to go and carry out that duty. And I recently heard that person has been promoted. So I don't know, how can somebody under investigation be promoted like that?
Let me go to the phone and speak to one of my long-lost brothers. Eventually, we spoke on the phone. Nanaya Akwada, who's from Bureau of Public Safety. I'm sure you must have heard of Nanaya in one way or the other. Nanaya, you're welcome.
Hi, thank you very much, Nana.
You can run, but you can hide.
The line is very, very faint. I'm struggling to hear you.
Let me see if sound would lift my mic up a little bit. Any better now? I'm trying to raise my voice. Okay, good.
Much better.
Good. Nanaya, September last year, a group of people in Kasuwa and an estate developer, get into a confrontation. Allegedly, the estate developer calls, someone who then releases 23 military men onto the site. And in the fracas, gunshot, somebody loses their life. Military says, don't worry, we'll sort it out. We go to the room, come out, says, oh yeah, we've dealt with it. Everything is okay, business as usual. What's your position in these matters? Because there's one too many.
Well, I think it's very unfortunate for a very disciplined army that Ghana has had in the times past to engage in this manner. It's very, very unfortunate. What the Bureau of Public Safety have called for since last September when this thing happened, we have observed, in other jurisdictions how such military inquiries are done and how they are, ended. Usually they would publish the report of such investigation because unlike the police where normally because the police interface between the state and, the citizenry, we advocate for a public complaints commission, an independent complaint commission for the police. But the military usually do not interface between the state and the citizenry. So usually normally when something of this nature happens, there's always a military inquiry. But the report is made public so that the citizens will know who constituted that committee and how far they went in their investigation and what formed the basis of their conclusions. Now, in the absence of all of these, in the scenario that we are looking at, then you begin to build this mistrust between, the citizenry and the army. And I think that is not good moving forward. It's not good for the nation because such things, when they happen, it has a lot of consequences. There are economic consequences, there are social consequences, there are political consequences, and sometimes they are needless.
The other thing I wanted to find out is, could the police not have done this job? Is this a military operation? Demolition
That's the point we are talking. I think that normally in chaotic situations, there are times when all over the world you can bring in the military when assessment indicates that maybe the aggression, the power of the people and all that the police cannot withstand it. It's allowed that you engage the military. But how the military conducts itself must be subject to, investigation, and that investigation must be transparent.
All too often, I think this, I don't know if you say this side of the world, but we use the soldiers a bit more than necessary. I don't know if it's from the revolutionary days or whatever it is, but soldiers are literally, doing police work. But in this case, in this,
I'm sorry for the rude interruption, and maybe you shouldn't get away with that comment that we use the military too often. It is the case that if it is based, that's why we are calling for a complete publication of the report. If it is the case that someone did an assessment of the crowd and arrived at that decision that the police is not capable to contain or neutralize the situation, we want to know what sort of assessment the person did, what observations he made. I mean, in the absence of that, we cannot, make that statement practically categorical that we do engage the police, the military far too often. We have seen what happened in the States sometime last year, where America was forced to put, military men on the streets. So I think that it's a case-by-case issue when the case arises, depending on the assessment that is made, then you can decide whether to bring in the police or a SWAT team or the military.
Now, let me take the worst case scenario in this particular case, that they said the sticks and stones were being thrown, not, rocket-propelled missiles, not SMGs, not grenades. So, I mean, if the police say that they can't handle sticks and stones, then we are even in further trouble, other than the military being deployed.
Frankly, I wish it were that simple to analyze the chaotic situation, against sticks and stone and police. But in combat, in social chaos, there is more to it than just what the people are armed with. Sometimes you are also talking numbers. How many policemen were there? How quickly can whoever was the commander mobilize more policemen as against mobilize a backup of military? So it's not as simple as who was carrying what. Sorry, but if the argument goes that way, then I'll have to step in for the law enforcement agency. Sometimes it is not that easy to make that analysis. What we have called for is that in spite of all of these arguments, it is important in the interest of transparency, in the interest of the people who have lost their loved ones, in the interest of democracy, in the economic interest of Ghana, it is important that this report is made public for all of us to go through it and see what led to the invitation of the military in the first place and how the military conducted themselves. But if you just go stick somewhere for 6 months, then you publish a paper and say, well, we checked and everybody was clean, I think that is not acceptable, and we must totally reject that kind of governance. It is not acceptable.
Now, I'm going to take a quick break here, and then when I come back, we'll continue. But I just want to find out, once you've found yourself in this situation, what do you do? I remember some journalists being slapped about the Independence Day, and there's so many other stories of, military excesses. But is that it? You just find yourself there and think, well, bad luck, swallow your sorrow and move on, or there's something that we can do. Don't move. Coming back.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for staying. And we are talking about security agencies, judges, and their own course. And Joining us now is lawyer Francis Xavier, who we all know is a human rights lawyer. Let me just acknowledge Francis. Francis, you're welcome.
Yeah, Nana, thank you very much. Good evening, and a very good evening to your cherished viewers.
Good evening, right back to you. But before I let you come in, I have in studio Samuel Darko, who was a brother of the victim in last year's scenario at Kasuwa. But he wanted to comment on Nanaya's statement before I bring Francis in.
Okay. On the Saturday after the whole thing happened, we went there, and the ASP went to the police station to actually hear the story, and after that go and see if actually it's a brother who is the dead or the deceased. When we went, the ASP told us the day before that incident happened, the estate developer brought some bulldozers to just go demolish some buildings. And then the police stopped him, seized all the bulldozers. So when I went there on the Saturday, I saw them and told them on the next day, which is on the Thursday the issue happened, the estate developer should bring his documents to prove that the land is his. The chiefs of the land should also come and prove. Not knowing this estate developer had a plan B. So it isn't that the police were not able to handle the crowd, but they were not even informed that the military had come there.
Let me go and speak to Francis. Francis, this is a case which I'm sure you have even more than we know about with regards to, should I say, military excesses. And then after they sit in their room, be their own judge and jury, they come out and say, well, this is what we found. Francis, is it becoming too often, and what can we do about it?
Thank you very much for inviting me into this conversation. Now, I must say that when it comes to the work of police in Ghana, and particularly with regards to they taking up disciplinary actions against their own, there has been lots of successes. I must say that there have been many times you have heard police taking some disciplinary action against one officer or the other on the grounds that maybe the officer might have misconducted himself. We've had cases where some police officers have been actually jailed for some offenses that they have committed. But having said that, I must say that to a very large extent, we can also see that the police commitment to dealing with, cases like that concern their own is really nothing to write home about. They have made some successes. I mean, they have made some progress in some matters. But generally speaking, I think the police, in my view, haven't done very well when it comes to they taking up, cases that concerns their own.
Francis, this may be
we are talking about today. You will recall that there have been several other instances. You remember the Sunyani issue. There have been a case in some parts of Adenta. There have been some case in Fafraha. There have been several cases in which police have shot civilians and killed them, under the mistaken belief that those civilians were robbers or were involved in some crime. We haven't had any, comprehensive report on each of those cases. And I believe that, look, if police want to be professional about these cases, it is not out of place for you to come out to say that on this very, in this very instance, police was negligent in the performance of its duty. And the man who was negligent was dealt with in this manner. And the victim was compensated in this manner. At least that will bring the case to some conclusive end. But each time these cases occur, police eventually create the impression that they are investigating it, and after a while, you don't hear anything again. one of the most typical cases that I have personally followed up has been the case, involving Lance Corporal Emmanuel Kwamina Bartels, and a little child who was defiled sometime last year, 12-year-old girl that was defiled and became pregnant. And as I'm talking to you now, that little girl is now 13 and she is having almost, I think, 9-year-old baby, 13-year-old girl in Ghana, having a baby for a police officer. Ask me, how far has investigation in this matter have been? It's just been, one of those trying to sweep matters under the carpet. And I think that the police need to do more than what they are doing. Look, the motto for the Ghana Police Service is service with integrity.
Yeah.
Where is the integrity in the work they are doing when they continue to behave this way?
Let me come in here, but is this Lance Corporal still wearing a uniform and acting as a police officer?
Well, in fact, my last check, that's the information we have, but my last check is that he has been interdicted. And under the police service regulations and even the laws, you cannot be interdicted forever. So long as you are not being prosecuted, very soon after the police has conducted their internal investigation, you would have to be called back to start working. And can you imagine, my brother, that more than 1 year of a little child, 12-year-old girl defiled, and this matter cannot be investigated? I mean, which kind of country is this? Which kind of law enforcement officers do we have?
Wow. I mean, because as a pedophile and a police officer, I mean, that's a dangerous combination.
Absolutely. And so you can imagine, if even a case like this cannot have a conclusive end for us to see the ends of justice, then the rest, it will just be a lip service that will be paid. I think that the police owe the Ghanaian populace a duty to be accountable with the power that has been vested into them, the authority that has been given them to protect and to maintain law and order in Ghana. That power is, they have a duty to be accountable to Ghanaians as to what they use that power for. And at each point in time that they go and they fire arms or they do things which endanger the life of the public, they have a duty to come back to explain to us how they investigated those cases, the results of those investigations, what they did about those cases.
Francis, in this Kasuwa instance, I mean, I have in studio Samuel Dako, whose brother is no more. But, I mean, it's like, so what? I mean, you listen to the PRO, it says, look, everybody can die. Some people even fall and die. You should be happy with the justice. I mean, where do they go? I mean, is that the end of justice for them?
Well, I don't think that is the end of justice for them. They still can resort to the court. I've always said that one of the reasons why most of these cases go unseen and unheard of is because many people do not want to follow it through, to its logical conclusion. Now, when you go to Article 33 of the 1992 Constitution, it clearly provides that, anytime a person's right has been infringed upon or is about to be infringed upon, that person, without prejudice to any other, remedies that could be available to that person, the person can apply to the High Court, for the protection of that right. And Article 12 clearly says that regardless of our race, creed, wherever we may be, we are all entitled to the fundamental human rights that have been enshrined in the Constitution. And you see, life is a right. Living is a right. So, everyone has a right to life. So anytime the police, by their inaction of a civilian, an innocent person, what it means is that they have infringed on the right of that person. And somebody needs to go to court for a declaration to that effect and for an order for compensation for the loss of that life. And if you are to proceed even on a pure civil suit and it's a suit in negligence, I mean, this is a clear case where anybody can plead what we call the res ipsa liquitor, which is the matter speaks for itself. If the police goes on an operation and then goes to shoot And at the end of the day, the shooting leads to the death of a civilian and not an armed robber. I mean, who must be held responsible? Who must be held accountable? Who must explain the circumstances under which the person died? It's the police. And if they can't get that reasonable explanation why they fired an arm that killed a civilian, they have to be called upon to pay for the loss of that life. At least there are dependents on that life. That life is connected to people. There are people who rely on that life, for their daily sustenance. So now that he is gone, what becomes of those dependents?
Francis, in reality, are these difficult cases to try? Because it's like the military and the army, it's like a very closed door where, you aren't able to even come in to get what you're saying. I mean, who's going to even give you the evidence and the sheets and everything to proceed to court?
Well, definitely these cases are not very easy cases, but they are not cases beyond prosecution. They are not cases, beyond, remedy. There are cases that can be remedied, in court. The reason is that we have all not tested the laws. After all, the police has all the opportunity to have those evidence and so on and so forth. There are circumstances where the court can subpoena the police to bring those evidence before it, particularly when the burden of proving the death of the person is shifted to the police, because we are saying that it is by their negligence that the death occurred. They will have to come and explain to the court why it is not their negligence, or they will have to come and explain to the court that they took all reasonable care and caution, and yet the death occurred.
Francis,
so if they cannot explain that away, then they become liable.
Francis, hold on for me.
I believe that it definitely will be a very difficult suit. And we have had a chance to be dealing with some suits in that regard. You will recall that there have been some suits around that we are dealing with in that regard, and it is difficult.
Francis, hold on for me. Please hold on for me. My director is going to kill me if I don't take a short break here and come back. But I have obviously Samuel in the studio. So when I come back, I just want to find out if the family has done or tried to do anything of what you said. So please don't move. We're coming straight back. Well, thank you very much for staying. Security agencies, judges in their own course. I say thank you very much to GT Bank for sponsoring our show. And I have lawyer Francis Xavier on the phone, who's educating us on the human rights aspect and how you can proceed through court when you get found in this way. So I'm going to find out from Samuel if you've tried any of these means to see if it's possible.
Okay, first, we contacted one lawyer, group captain, retired lawyer Obinintrim, and then he actually led us to the CID headquarters. He actually wrote a letter to them. He waited for some weeks and there wasn't any response, so we had to go there. We went there, we followed to the military police. They also said they hadn't finished their investigations. So now that the military has brought out the conclusion of the investigation, I spoke with him and he says that from what they are saying, it has to go to court. So I know that thing will come up anytime soon. Maybe they've started. Yeah.
Well, Francis,
Yes, sir.
it's a very sad story. But what brought us here, where if the services, find themselves in trouble, as they call the SP, they cut themselves off and saw themselves out. What culture brought about this?
Well, I think that, generally speaking, there are hazards that come with every work. The truth is that the police are not superhumans. They are normal human beings carrying out their duties, and they can make mistakes. So my point is that if what you do is a mistake, you should quickly admit that mistake and be willing to compensate the people who suffered as a result of that mistake. And then the officers who are in charge or in control of that mistake, you take them through some disciplinary proceedings so that they do not repeat those mistakes again. But if we don't do these things, then we begin to, create problems. Not until the police service begin to take personal obligations of some of these, some of these excesses in their work, it will be difficult for them to overcome what is happening. The second thing has to do with lack of adequate training. Lack of adequate training. I have been one of the people who have, and who has advocated that, the number of years or the number of months that people are taking through when they are recruited in the Ghana Police Service, in my view, I feel it is woefully inadequate. And so the skills that they are supposed to acquire are not so, for want of better words, they are skilled as they are supposed to be, because the training is very limited. And that's because of that, get out there and they do lots of damages to the citizenry. And then you can also look at the entire history of policing. Policing, in the past has been very, very brutish, and they have been very, very anti-human rights and did not respect, the fundamental rights and liberties of the citizens, even though they were meant to protect the same citizens. But over the time, this has evolved, and police is gradually becoming more and more sensitive to human rights and so on and so forth. But I will quickly add that once this evolution continues, it is not every member of the Ghana Police Service that has actually caught up with this new air that, air of rights that is blowing. So at the end of the day, you have selected members of the police who are still very, 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 brutish when it comes to, their services and performance of their duties. So I think it's several factors that have contributed to what we did.
Francis, before I let you go, you're a lawyer. Certain operations, shouldn't the police lead certain operations? If you're not under any severe attack, should the military be deployed?
Can you kindly say that again?
I was wondering that, in such instances, can the police lead some of these things rather than the military?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, the position I've taken on these matters actually apply both to police and the military, together. The truth is that I think with this public, sensitization, the public cry, and with the kind of feedback that is coming from the society against the operations of the police and the military together, in fact, whether it's joint operations that eventually leads to some of these losses, I believe that the leadership of these security services must begin to, reorient the men on the ground, the servicemen.
Francis, I'm going to take
become more sensitive to, the rights of people when they are on the ground, whether it's the police or the military, because sometimes the worst offenders sometimes can even be police service, policemen.
Francis, let me halt here again, and then I'm going to come straight back. And when I come back, I'll find out from Samuel in the studio, what the police has done since or after, if I may say. To the move. Thank you very much, and thanks to GT Bank for sponsoring PM Express. Every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m., sit back and relax and listen to the conversation. And today's conversation is a bit heartening. After the incident, what's been the response from the police or the support you've gotten from the local police?
From the local police, we can say it was in their hands at the Kasuwa police station, the Millennium City police station, till the autopsy. And after that, they said headquarters just took it away from them. And since then, we've never heard from the headquarters. We had a rather approach. They told us they are not done. And from sources, they are still not done. But they've not personally approached the family to maybe ask us questions to help them in their investigations.
So the military is doing this, the police is doing theirs, and they look at the two and see if they arrive at the same conclusion or...
From the CID headquarters, they said they were doing a dual investigation. One independent, the other with the military.
Okay.
So with that, they brought in the 23 soldiers in badges to investigate them. But they never contacted us.
Not at all?
Not at all.
Francis? Have I got Francis on the line?
Yes, after the line.
Oh, good, good. Francis, in an investigation like this, I mean, is it necessary to contact the family? Maybe you could get all your information without necessarily asking the family.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. It depends on what exactly the investigative body wants to find out. And I would think that definitely in an investigation like this, the police or whoever is the person doing the investigation would want to contact the family or the area that the incident occurred and talk to people on the ground to just find out where exactly the deceased was before the incident. You know, and it's talking to people around and the family and all that will definitely give a better picture. I don't know where else they would get information. Of course, I know they would definitely be talking to the people who were on operation on that day and what role each and every one of them played, you know, but I think it will be important to also contact the family.
Let me digress a little bit and come back to this corporal and this 12-year-old child. What would stop an investigation like that from going on? I mean, what is there to, if indeed there's a child and there's a DNA and is this policeman's child, what will stop such an investigation? What more do you need to prove?
Well, I think that for me, that is why I see this whole thing as the lack of commitment from the police service to do justice when it happens to be, when the persons at the center of this accusation is a police officer. And perhaps maybe he may have some as you follow this case, you hear all kinds of things. People say, well, if you have a big man in the police service, or if you have a big man who is a politician, if you have a big man who is something following you, then you can be sure that your case, would not be investigated. And you see, I talk about this issue very briefly.
Because of time, if you round it up for me in like 20 seconds.
20 seconds?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. So, I just think that is a lack of commitment. I think police is not committed to prosecuting its own. And that is the reason why when issues like this happen, they just don't even investigate it at all, or they just do it anyhow, so that they can get away with, they can get away, with the matter.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Come to give the final word to Samuel. I mean, so what's the family doing? What's the way forward now?
As for the family, since they've seen that there is no justice, especially my mother, she's not taking it easy at all. And I think maybe...
Michael was your older brother?
Yeah, I'm directly...
Oh, behind him.
Behind him,
sibling.
yeah. So with that, the family is not taking it that easy. It looks like one person is gone and then nothing is being done. And for the military, to me, they should bring out a better report, because this is just a joke to me.
Well, thank you very much, and I hope justice will be served. But once again, I want to say a big thank you to Nana Mpra Pesemuna. Nana Mprapesemuna, who is the Krachi Ura. So all you Krachi citizens, I want to say thank you very much for hosting Odenoho beautifully. But tomorrow, we're back to do this all over again. Thank you.
PMX